New game time! Today I'll be sharing my experience with a PS1 title that I haven't heard many people talk about over the years. Treasures of the Deep. It's an underwater adventure game where you pilot submarines as Jack Runyon, a retired Navy SEAL turned treasure hunter. Your goal? Explore the ocean, collect treasure, and survive threats like sharks, eels, and pirate divers. Each level has scattered loot, wildlife you can capture for cash, and a major treasure to find. Once you discover the big prize, you can surface to complete the mission. The controls are surprisingly solid, though the PS1's button limitations mean some functions require combinations. But the game features analog support, and I highly recommend turning it on. It makes movement feel much smoother. Interestingly, Treasures of the Deep was released in mid-1997, right in that weird phase where Sony had an analog controller, but before the DualShock. Before jumping into a mission, you can stock up on weapons, equipment, and even new submarines. But funds are tight at the start, so I went in with just the basics. Here's how it plays. X fires your spear gun. Square uses your special weapon or equipment. Circle cycles through weapons. Triangle cycles through equipment. L1 and R1 move you forward and backward. And L2 and R2 let you strafe. The right analog stick lets you move forward and backward also, and it's much smoother that way. It takes a minute to get used to, but it's intuitive enough. So, how does the game feel? Honestly, pretty fun. Movement is smooth, aiming is responsive, especially with analog enabled, and while the enemies aren't too aggressive, they will catch you off guard. Sharks, for example, can ambush you, so keeping an eye on the sonar is key. Visually, the game does a great job for a 1997 title. There's just enough environmental detail to feel immersive without tanking the frame rate. The underwater sound design is also on point. Both the music and effects help sell the atmosphere. That said, I did find myself slowing down a lot to grab every single coin. Switching to third person helps with visibility, but I really like the first person view. It just feels more immersive. One big challenge? You can die fast. Enemies deal a lot of damage, and while there are health pickups, they aren't abundant. I learned this the hard way. Yes, I died in the training mission. Embarrassing? Maybe. But the gameplay was fun enough that I wanted to keep trying. Once I stopped worrying about collecting every last coin, I finally made it to the end. The mission wraps up when you find an old sword near a sunken ship, and then float to the surface. Simple enough. After finishing, I noticed something odd on the mission complete screen, a line that said dolphins. Do I really have to capture dolphins? That seems kind of cruel. I had to find out, so I replayed the training mission a couple more times, this time fully committed to using analog controls, which again are way better than the default digital movement. And yeah, you can capture dolphins using a net, and they bring in a ton of money. The weird part? The game never explains why you're doing this. The manual doesn't even mention it, and it feels kind of wrong. Maybe they need help? They are pretty noisy in the level, like they're calling out for something. But still, sorry in advance, dolphin lovers. Also, if we're capturing things for profit, why can't I catch the pirate divers who are literally trying to harpoon me? So, that was my first dive into Treasures of the Deep. The atmosphere, music, and water setting are all solid so far, and I'm excited to keep playing. Have you heard of this game before? Some people compare it to Subnautica, though this is obviously a much older take on the underwater adventure genre. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Sharks are bad? I should have strafed the shark. I don't know where it is. Where'd the shark go?